talk about inequality and gender inequality specifically, it can really limit opportunities for professional, personal, and really financial growth. So I would love to have the panelists comment on what can we do to create opportunities for other females coming up.
I will jump in, and I'm going to use a story from my kind of another lifetime in my career. There was a point where I worked for Safelite Auto Glass, and I worked with in the operations area as a program and project manager. And I went out and I wanted to create a women's committee there. Now, Safelite Auto Glass has been around for a while. They are the industry leader in auto glass. And I went to the marketing team because I was putting together this deck because I wanted to present to the senior executive team. I want to put this women's committee together. And I went to the marketing team. I said, I need some assets to put in my PowerPoint. Give me some pictures of female technicians. Week went by, so I reached out to the right-hand woman to the CEO, which she was overseeing the marketing. I said, hey, nudge, nudge, I haven't gotten anything back. Really like to get this done. And another nudge happened, and lo and behold, I got an email back, and there were none. This company that's been around for this many years has thousands of technicians out on the road replacing glass and did not have a single picture of a female technician for any asset. I'm like, that's a problem. Mark that down. And here is why we need a women's committee. How does this happen? So we ended up getting it all together. They approved it. And that year, God love COVID, that launched in 2019, then COVID happened. So we only had 8 months for the committee before COVID happened. In that time frame, we were able to actually get the first female assets. We were able to fly 2 women out to the next marketing shoot, and Safelite Auto Glass ended up having their very first pictures of an actual female technician.
Wow.
Mind blow, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But these are things we don't think about. And the other thing is they require uniforms. Well, there were no maternity uniform options for women in the field. There were no female uniform options. It was basically smaller size of men's clothes. And ladies, we know that does not fit all of us.
You're making me think about my first pair of coveralls.
I'm like,
crotch down to the knees.
Yeah, like a lot of them are even safety hazards, yes, right?
Absolutely.
And there's these types of things where we talk about the female influence in equality. Sometimes we're thinking too big. Sometimes we need to narrow it down to simple things. And when we went out and I surveyed the women, and I asked them, I'm like, some of them didn't even want their picture taken. That's how women want to blend in, because just by being in this industry, we stick out, right? So they spent the majority of their career trying to blend in. Don't make noise, don't be loud, don't ask for things, right? We're already, by being here, seeming like we're asking for something. And that's when I realized that we need women in those leadership roles in order to ask those questions and be the voice for the women who are just trying to make those things happen. And when we sent out the survey to the women, and we did fit tests and everything, Safelite, I'm no longer with them, but they now have maternity clothes for women. They just simply thanked us for sending a survey out to ask them, what do you need? That's it.
Yeah.
Companies have come and talked to me through business consultations and stuff, and they're like, how do we do this? I'm like, you don't have to rock the world here. Just ask them what they need and want. And what they found was, can we please have a clean bathroom? I just don't want to sit on pee. But it's so simple.
The little things.
It's the little things. Yes. So that's an example of how we talk about these big things with equality when really sometimes it's very, very simple things that are very attainable. for all companies.
Thank you. I'm going to welcome our fifth panelist, Subi Ghosh. Welcome. Subi is the EVP of Marketing and Strategic Partnerships at Stream Companies. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you with us. I would love for you we kind of missed you in the first question, and I really wanted to hear your insights on just some experiences and attributes that got you to where you are today.
Literally today, I would say perseverance. I had the weirdest day with my Uber driver went in the wrong direction, got confused because of F1 traffic, dropped me off somewhere, and I could not, like everyone kept canceling. So I did whatever I had to do, took off my shoes, and I ran here. So perseverance for sure.
It's just such a good lesson about, like looking back over our careers, what it really takes.
Every time you think you've made it, you haven't. There's going to be something. I would say I've done these panels a lot. I've moderated these panels a lot. I've talked to a lot of women. I was a founding board member of Women in Automotive, and the thing that surprised me the most is that most women don't always stand up and say, here's my history, here's what I've done, and here are all the challenges I went through to get here. But there are some common themes that stand out to me. And one was that almost every woman that I had met, that in my opinion, from my seat, I say, holy cow, you're so successful, you've done so well for yourself, how did you get there? They don't see themselves that way. So one, I would say to look around and recognize where you're at that you weren't yesterday and you couldn't have seen for yourself. Accept that and share that with people that might be looking up to you in the position that you're in, because I think that that's also really important. It's not always the thing that's ahead, it's also the steps you got to get there. And the other thing I would say is raising your hand as much as you can and taking all the opportunities that are presented to you and being eager and hungry and letting the people around you that can give you those opportunities, that's not always your direct manager, but if someone has a problem that you can uniquely solve, speak up for yourself, raise your hand, and then pull your own seat up to the table sometimes. And I would say that I have also done that and inadvertently didn't realize that I had come to a position that the 15-year-old version of me could never have imagined for myself. So,
Thank you, thank you. And we're glad you made it.
Me too.
Axel, I want to go to you and on this topic of gender inequality. You came to my very first event back in 2018, and you're so active with AWAF, which is the Automotive Women's Alliance Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about what gave you that passion to bring other women along?
It's a great question. I think that it's because I've had that experience to work with so many different nations, so many different cultures, so many different languages. And the common theme is exactly what you said. It's like people don't realize how blessed they are to be where they are at because maybe they haven't awakened to the genius that's inside of them. But once you find out that secret, right, that there's a treasure inside of us, then you're not looking at other competition. You're not concerned with what the competition is doing because you're so busy creating and using your talents, and you're so excited to create, and you're really doing things that fire you up. And once you find that life purpose, and you just go for it. You're not like, you don't have to fight for what's yours, right? It's like fighting for the keys to your house. It's your house. Right? But what gave me that passion is because I just saw it over and over again, that sometimes, it's about how you empower people is helping them understand the power within, right? You empower women by letting them know to look within so that they can awaken to their talents and their God-given gifts, right? By doing that, you quickly realize that the reality, let's say we go by the reality, is that it is a little bit unequal right now still. But how do you change that narrative? How do you create your story? How do you how do you take charge? Because often I walk into a room, I'm the only Hispanic, I'm the only woman, I'm the shortest, the one with the long hair, not curly. I mean, there's always going to be unequal for some reason or not, right? But I would say use it to your advantage. If you're the shortest, wear high heels, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You fix it. You create your own use it to your advantage and just spin it, right? I'm the one that will always find a way to, look at the positive, and I say, okay, well, if I am the only Hispanic or the only minority, the only woman, then let me represent those that will come behind me. Let me do a great job so they realize we should be here, and use it as an opportunity to take that responsibility, because you know what, maybe it wasn't meant for someone else, it was meant for you, right? And then you open up the doors for others. And I've been doing that virtually all my life, and I realized that that is a gift that I have, and it's giving voice to those that maybe have not had one. And I'm just so excited because along the way, I did have mentors that allowed me to, reckon these things, and cheerleaders for me, which is very, very important to have that solid foundation. So when I worked around the world in the media in 30 different countries, we did create a foundation that exposed crimes against children and crimes against women, and then you really see how the world works, right? And I realized that I could go into two directions, right? I could go into feeling mad at the world because there's so much evil and wrath, or I could be grateful for the love and the solid foundation that I have, and realize that it's that love that allowed me to endure that, allowed me to just do that as a give back to the community. And I said, there's a reason why I saw that, but, I chose the latter, which is to say, well, I saw that for a reason. I'm not going to be mad, but I'm going to make sure that every single day I live to the utmost, realize the blessings that surround me. And I'm so glad that even though I'm Canadian, I'm here in the United States, working in the automotive hub of the world, making a difference, leading by example. I had all odds against me, as I mentioned to you, and that automotive mogul, I love this story because...
Yeah, tell us about the automotive mogul.
Yes, this automotive mogul, 29 different commodities. He owns 29 different companies. So of course, I was a sponge when he gave me that opportunity. And I'm a go-getter, right? I'm a sponge. I'm going to go and create my own seat at the table. No hand-me-downs. I'm going to go ahead and make a name for myself. And he told me that it was impossible to get into the automotive OEMs, okay, because the OEMs were not handing out new contracts and new vendor codes. And you know how hard it is to get into an OEM. And you know what happens when you tell a determined woman no, right?
Yep.
And I looked at the positive thing and said, well, I'm happy to say that 9 months later, we birthed that baby. Like, we gave we got that contract. Thank you. And it was not easy, okay? Like, I'm telling you, when I say I knew nothing about cars, nothing. I mean, all I knew is that my name is Axel. Every car needs one, well, two. Every car needs two. That's all that I knew. But I use it as an advantage because of my global exposure and connections and finance and everything. I asked the why. Nobody could give me a good enough example as why they weren't doing it that way. And it actually created a niche for myself. And next thing you know, I had my hands in many. So we established a company that supplies into the OEMs, copper, lithium, et cetera, precious metals. And then I also have a second company that allows me to market with executive branding and help people market themselves, just because people notice my background from before, my automotive world and media worlds collided and created a name for myself. So yes, it is unequal, but it's important for us to say, spin it. Do not conform to the things of this world and just go for it, because we're not of this world. We're here to create.
And one thing I think that's vitally important as a woman or as women, you've got to connect and help others. I've created the Urban Aftermarket Council. It broke my heart in the previous session when the young woman was asking, can somebody help me? I need this question answered, and she could not get an answer from anyone. And I was so happy that someone answered, but those are the connections we have to make as women. We have to make those connections. We have to help each other. Oftentimes, it's always typically positive affirmation that really will unlock what's inside of us already. We need someone to just team up with us and say, hey, that's really a good idea.
Yes.
Or, you know what, let's add something to that. we need, as women, we need someone to hear us, listen, and affirm us. And once we have those things, we can win the race. We can do whatever we like. And as women, it's important for us to just form partnerships. Oftentimes, you might have to reach outside of your city. You might have to, someone you've networked with here today. When you get back home next week, give them a call, shoot them an email, because that is what's going to change this uneven playing field. And in a lot of times, it's going to take us to do it. There's not going to be a superwoman that flies in and says, voila, it's fixed. We're going to have to do it, and we can do it together.